Hi everyone, this is Esateys.
And this is Rafael, and welcome back to Relationships Done Different. We have a very different kind of show today. In fact, it wasn't the show that we were planning on doing it until about 20 minutes ago. We were planning on doing the show that we talked about last week, which is it better to be right or happy? And we'll get to that next week. But we have had some really important downloads, if you will, and it's made a major difference in the direction of our work, and we want to share that with you. So the name of the show today is New Paradigms for Multidimensional Happiness. You're probably asking, what the heck is that? And I'm going to let Esateys answer that question.
Thanks a lot.
I'm the one who came up with the title.
Yeah. Okay, so first of all, I want to share that some of you have known me for a really long time. Some people have been doing work with me for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And when I was teaching and doing things that I was doing many years ago, it was very spiritually based, and it had a very expanded viewpoint around it. And as time went on, I became, I shifted to become what I call more grounded, more mainstream. I started using words that more people could identify with and become connected to or safe with. And I have done that for pretty many years, in spite of what some of you may be thinking right now. For me, it's pretty grounded. But
They're probably all scratching their heads right about now.
Well, especially if they didn't know me then. But at any rate, what's happened for me in the last several months is I've been being pushed, if you will, from within to really start being what I'll call more authentic. In other words, to bring up and to really speak more about things that I know about and that I have experienced and all along those lines, which is a little bit, for some people, out of the mainstream. So when we speak today, I'm going to let you know in advance that some of the things that I will share are things that might be different than you've ever thought before. It may be something that you'll go, "Are you kidding me?" Or you may go, "Oh, that is so awesome." Or, "Oh yeah, I heard that before." Whatever it is that goes on in your mind, just allow it to be there. The thing that I do ask of you is to just really stay in a place of open-mindedness. Really allow yourself to listen with an open heart and open mind, because one of my main jobs on the planet is to provide options to people, and most importantly, to support them in expanding and what I call awaken to things that they don't normally think, to what they may not normally do, or how they have lived on a regular basis. So I'm kind of like a catalyst, or maybe even an alchemist, and
Or the option queen.
or the option queen, whatever. So I'm just kind of putting everybody on notice right now that I'm going to speak about whatever it is I speak about, because I'm not really sure of that right this second, but I do know that there's more and more of who I really am authentically that must start expressing at a higher level.
And the really cool thing about what we're going to tell you is that this started a few months ago. One day, Esateys got up, and I always try to stay away from her in the morning because something new is going to change. And she came in and said, "I want to change our website, and I want to differentiate our website and the kind of work that we're doing to dealing with changes or being happy in the material world, which includes relationships, which includes job, money, health, children, and then the second or differentiating world is the spiritual world, and many people have taken on a spiritual inclination, and they have given up or don't concentrate on the material world. So we created in the website 3 worlds: the material world, the spiritual world, and the I want it all world. Well, today what we're going to be speaking about is a culmination or combination of those 2 worlds. And you will find it fascinating, I'm sure, because I did. And at first I had a lot of resistance to it. And now I'm totally get it.
And what I call that I want it all, and I'm thinking as I'm speaking here, don't mind me, we're going to have a little business meeting with you all. I'm thinking of really changing that third section on the site to be the multidimensional, have it all, whatever. I really like the word multidimensional because we are multidimensional. We have many, many different facets of ourselves, and we have the ability to expand ourselves out to so much more than we do. No matter how expanded you think you are, there is an unlimited and a vast amount of capabilities that you have emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. And it's really limiting to live in a place where most people live. Because if you really knew your capabilities, it would kind of like freak you out at the beginning, but as you take one step at a time, then you become familiar and you go, gosh, what took me so long? Or I don't know how I ever existed without having this kind of awareness. So the point of this is that I'm kicking it up a notch, but on a personal level, just being very transparent, I'm becoming more authentic to myself. This is where my heart is. This is what is really important to me, is to tell all of the truth all of the time about who I am, what I'm about, and where I'm going. And I really hold that that will resonate for you. And if it doesn't, I completely understand. But it's one of the most profound teachings that I could give to anyone at any given time, and that is be 100% authentic. And when you are authentic, that means that your head doesn't get so involved, but rather you tap into a place that just emerges from within. It's those words that happen when you don't even think about it. It's when you're in the zone, when you're just feeling a sense of you. You're not thinking about the past or the future, that you're just being. You're not even thinking of the moment. You're just, words come out of your mouth, actions just occur. Everything is just happening. I want you to think about those words. Everything is just happening. That's exactly life. Everything is just happening. Things are happening, and although we think we're making them happen, it's not about us making them happen. They're going to happen. Things will continue to happen. You can sit on a rock for 5 years and things will continue to happen. I mean, ants will come and get on you, or spiders will run across your legs, or a tree branch will fall down on your head, or you will have somebody bring you berries, or, who knows, whatever, but things will continue to happen. You will have thoughts come and go throughout your mind. The sun will come or it won't. The clouds will be there or they won't. It will rain or it will snow or the sun will be out. Things will always be happening. So what does that mean for you? It means, as you've heard me speak before, that as things are happening, if you really want to know happiness, then it's imperative that you allow things to happen and give up your resistance to what it is that's happening. So that means that you be in very astute awareness of how you're feeling when things happen. And that means that your judgments, your resistances, the feeling of being in the flow, whatever it is, become aware of that. Become the most profound observer ever. And when you do that, you're going to notice that you feel a whole lot better within. And when that occurs, you realize that you are a master of perception. Your perception is going to always determine whether you are happy, sad, mad, or glad, and to what degree of happiness that you are holding at any given moment.
Can you relate what you're just saying to what is multidimensional? What is your definition or your working model for it, and how does it affect the things that you were just saying?
Okay, you might have to ask me the second half after I get through the first half.
Okay. When I started asking the questions, Esateys' eyes lit up, and she said, "Oh yeah, I got a great answer." And then when I asked the second part of the question, it was like, "Don't bother me with that part. I want to deal with the first part
That's exactly
first."
right. So now say the first part over.
What do you mean by multidimensional?
Oh, what is multidimensional happiness?
And how does it? Okay, that's the second part. So let's start with multidimensional.
Oh, what is multidimensional means? So let's see if we can all get on the same page. And I think most everybody who's listening to this is probably right here with me, but we come to the agreement that everything is energy. And we know that energy has different or vacillating levels of frequency or vibration. Right now I'm going to use them interchangeably. And when we recognize that, we can also determine, and if those of you would like to look at this more closely, there's a book called Power versus Force. I think this is where this chart is. There's a chart that gives vibrations of different feelings, if you will. We've spoken about them at some of the retreats that I've done. And so you will see that fear has a certain frequency, guilt has a certain frequency, neutrality actually has a frequency, happiness has a certain frequency, there's love has a certain frequency, and so each one of those frequencies for this moment, because this is kind of like a primer in this, we'll call those each a dimension. So each dimension has a different energetic vibration to it, and each one of those vibrational levels is connected to an emotion and to other things that are material or not. So when we talk about multidimensional, we're really talking about the frequency that you are living at. Now, the frequency as it increases is going to bring you a different kind of experience than you would have if you were at a lower frequency, if you will, or a lower vibration. And the more astutely aware you are of your vibration or your frequency, the more you're going to be able to tell what kind of mood you're going to be in, what kinds of stuff is going to be going through your mind. You have something you need to say?
So to put it in simple terms, can we say that our frequency, as you're describing it, is really our degree of happiness, our degree of sadness, and that is, I know it's not an exact match, but it might be helpful if people could understand how do these different frequencies translate to them? How can they know if they're in a high frequency or a low frequency? So can you give some guidance about that?
Well, you know by how you feel. One of the ways to know this is you notice how many things and to what degree you're having triggers. You know that if somebody who walks by you every day at lunchtime as you're sitting on your bench or something, and they smile and you smile and you're fine, you're good, that feels whatever it feels. And yet the next day somebody goes by and they smile at you and you go, God, that person's like a robot. Whatever it is that comes to your mind, it's like you're irritated. There is something that is very irritating to you about that. Well, where you were yesterday when you smiled and you felt, a sense of connection with that person, that's one frequency. The next day when you go by and you notice that you're just agitated or irritated, and it looks like it's them, then you're at another vibration or another frequency, and it's a lower one because you're now in judgment that is bringing yourself down. So when we speak about these things, it has everything to do with your happiness, because higher frequencies create a higher level of perception of happiness. And that is a really important piece to be in touch with.
And the key that you said that I got was your perception of happiness.
Yes, it is definitely about your perception.
Not necessarily the reality, because you're making that.
Well, your reality is the one that you're making up.
Exactly.
So you get to determine whether you want to be happy or not. You get to determine whether you choose to feel good or to feel bad based on how you're perceiving whatever it is that's going on in that particular moment. So when I speak about multidimensional, I'm not only speaking about this level, but I'm speaking about really elevating yourself past what it is that I've ever spoken about, meaning that there's aspects of your mind, of your brain, of your whole self that you have never accessed before. You don't, rarely does anybody know what's beyond where their mind knows to go. In fact, that's one of the things, you've heard me say it before, that I say every night before I go to bed, which is take me beyond where my mind knows to go. Because my mind only knows recycled information, which is sometimes recycled ignorance. And that means that it can repeat things for me, but it doesn't generate new thought unless I am opening up another whole level of that, which has been dormant within myself or anyone else. So when I'm speaking about multidimensional living, multidimensional happiness, multidimensional anything, what I'm speaking about is going to those hidden places that have not been accessed and have not been incorporated in your day-to-day world, and really opening them up for a whole new level, a whole new perception, a whole new way of thinking, feeling, being in life. And all of the expansiveness of that will bring you to a higher vibration, to a higher energy level, to a higher level of happiness. Does that make sense?
It certainly does. So we're going to take a quick break right here, and I'm going to set up our topic and a question for when we come back, and that is, when we experience this higher vibration, when we experience this state of well-being or whatever, that's transient. How do we, because as my experience is that 1 minute you're up, 1 minute you're down. It's kind of like being on the elevator or the roller coaster, up and down. And the first thing I want to talk about when we come back is, how does one maintain staying there? You use an expression of the penthouse. So let's talk about the penthouse and how we stay there. So Esateys, I know now you had a minute to think about my very, very deep question, which you probably don't remember. But
I don't, because I don't think. I mean, that's really important for you to remember. I don't speak from a place of memory. I speak from a place of this moment, which is not like an archived thought from a computer file. So that's why when I ask you to repeat something, it's because in this very moment is the only place I am when I'm doing podcasts, or when I'm coaching, or when I'm teaching, or when I'm doing a retreat, or any of those things. Therefore, something is here right now. I fully embrace it. I'll respond to it however it is, that whatever comes through. And then it moves on, and the next thing shows up. So you'll have to ask your question.
No problem. And I just want to say, I've known Esateys for over 20 years. And when I first met her, I went to a retreat she was doing in New Jersey. And the things that came out of her mouth were incredibly profound. And I found that not to have diminished over these 20 years. So this is a woman who has such brilliance and such depth that when it comes when she can connect to that part of her, it's incredible. And sometimes she doesn't remember what she did 5 minutes ago. It's just an incredible dichotomy. And I just want to say that's what I love about her. It's like you never know what's going to come out of her mouth. It's really awesome.
Okay, I'm really glad we're taping this because I'm going to ask you to just cut this piece out so I can replay it to you, because that's what I really love about her, is that she doesn't, because sometimes,
And I wasn't sure if you really wanted me to cut it out of the recording.
no.
Okay, we'll come back to this.
It's the truth.
Okay, so here we go. So this isn't about me. Or yes, it is, but we won't go there. So the question is, how does one maintain staying in what I'll call the penthouse and being in that higher state of feeling, of energy? And because as life happens, as the polarity, as you've described it, happens, we move up and down. How does this multidimensional model keep us there?
First of all, it's really important to recognize that it's not about staying there. Life is, as you've heard me say in the past, it's CCU, constantly changing university. The very fact that you want to try to keep something creates resistance. Resistance slows down the energy. Slowing down the energy creates a lower vibration. A lower vibration creates a connection with things like sadness, anger, guilt, wherever it happens to fall on the scale. And therefore, it's not about maintaining that. I can tell you that if you desire to move yourself on a continuous basis, if you're willing to be uninterrupted movement, then what you want to do is focus on being unattached to anything, to not needing to have really severe structure, to letting go of judgments and blame and things of that nature, which slow and lower vibrational frequencies. And so that's one piece. The other is that when you are, first of all, in those places that I was just speaking about, and you're going with the flow, if you will, or you're in the zone where you're not thinking about the past or the future, then what occurs is that you have an open airway, if you will, like a tunnel that opens right up for you, that you can walk down and stay in a total state of connection, because that's where you're quote unquote living. Furthermore, you're not just staying static there, you're always given an opportunity to take the up escalator or the down escalator. And so if you want to really give yourself permission to always be going up, so to speak, then it's mandatory, if you will, at least in my experience, that you monitor what you're thinking about and how you're framing what you're thinking about. And another extremely key point is, who are you hanging out with? People that are not open-minded, people that are not willing to consider something that's out of the box, someone who is finding fault with themselves or others, especially on a continuous basis, are not going to be those that are going to be helping you find the escalator. And based on that, you are really, I beckon you to look around in your life and who you're hanging with, and create friends and associates that are really a lot more committed to being in a personal state of growth, into a personal state of seeing things as half full, if you will. And when you do that, what happens is you are being surrounded with the ability to maintain and then elevate yourself from where it is that you are. If you are around people that are toxic, people that are negative, people that are always looking for the worst case scenario, or any of those kinds of things, what happens is their energy is like a pulley. It pulls you down, and you won't be able to maintain by yourself most of the time. That's why I feel that creating a tribe or a group of friends, whatever word you want to use, that are really aligned, and you catch each other when you're starting to fall off the edge of the truck, and you remind them, because you just don't want to live in that other place. So those are just a few ideas of things that you can do.
Just a personal note about what you're saying about really community is, for those of you who don't know, we run a meetup every week at a local hospital, and the meetup is called, well, we have two meetups together, but and what happens is when we come together, and now we have a group of people who have been coming for almost a year now consistently, we all get a good, we all just feel great. We get a feel good pill, a feel good hit that just puts us in that high state, because we're all talking about and we all want the same things. So I just wanted to throw that in, because it's something that's very profound when you can find such a community, or you can create such a community, so that you can have that experience of being with people who want exactly what you want. So what I want to do now in our remaining time is I'd like to go back to something that we talked about at the beginning. You have the material world and all those things, relationships, and all of our teachings around how to make those better, happier, whatever words you want to use. We have the spiritual world, where we concentrate on creating the inner connection, and now the multidimensional world. How do we put them all together? How does the model fit?
Well, it's not about the material. It's not about the spiritual. It's about living life from the place, again, of authenticity, of awareness, of a real passionate desire to, quote unquote, have it all. That means that when you are doing the work from within, work from inside out. Remember, we've spoken about that. When you're working from the inside out, your outer world is going to shift depending upon what's happening in your inner world, and therefore you'll find that you don't have to differentiate between the material world and the spiritual world. They're not separable in reality. It just appears that they are because of the point of focus that we put on either one of them. Some people are, I just want more money, I just want to get out of debt, I just want, whatever it is that they want, and there's certainly nothing wrong with that, except all of their focus is on that, which actually comes from a state of fear. So anytime you're wanting or feeling like you need something, you're in fear, and fear is the underlying frequency that's going to come out in between the cracks, if you will. Therefore, what happens is you manifest with an overlay of fear. And that's why it's really not in your best interest to constantly being in a state of what it is that you need or want, but rather become what it is that you need or want. If you want to be a happier person, then ask yourself, what would a happier person do right now? How would they respond? How would they act? How would they whatever? And some people say, well, that's like lying. Well, to one degree, it could look like that. On the other hand, come back to what we spoke about earlier, and that is that everything's perception. Changing your perception is a choice. Nobody says it has to be that I'm depressed and I'm unhappy. It doesn't have to be that I'm feeling good and joyful. Instead, it can be, oh, I have something in front of me. How do I choose? How do I choose to be with what is right now?
Okay, so cutting through all of that, the key really is about being okay. The multidimensional aspect is about being okay with whether you're happy or sad. Things are going your way or not going your way. It's about seeing things from a different perspective.
The the ability to be in joy doesn't have anything to do with what's happening in the outer world once you realize that you are the happiness. The new car is not the happiness. More money is not the happiness. And everyone spends lifetime after lifetime looking for what's over there to get to that happiness place. And it really has to come from within. And I'll tell you that I have like I don't even know how many more levels that I can talk about this, where you're moving beyond that into something to where you can access these different levels without feeling like you're doing it because you need something. Rather, you are being what it is that you actually at one time or another may have wanted, but rather it's like, oh, I just want to play that role rather than, oh my God, if I don't, I'm going to lose my house or whatever the mind may tell you. And it can be tricky. It can be really challenging. But I will tell you that there's that level and then a whole bunch more beyond that to where we talk about being in a total state of connection from within, to where we talk about being able to connect with the parts of yourself that are beyond your physical awareness and connecting with others, whatever word you want to use, guides or energies or support team that is beyond the material world. And then there's another whole level that is about being connected to the parts of you that you have not really accessed before, and you don't even know what they are or what their value is or what they're there for. That's opening up another whole level. And ultimately, it's about being so connected to your true self that you only can be what you truly are, which is the love, which is the happiness, which is the joy, whatever word you would like to use. You don't know how not to be that because there is nothing, there's no shroud that you're wearing. There's no set of clothing that you put on to cover up the parts of yourself that you have judgment about and all of those other kinds of things that I probably don't have time to talk about today. You're probably flagging at me. For those of you that don't know, I'm standing here speaking into a microphone with my eyes closed, so I have no idea that Raphael is jumping up and down saying, okay, we're out of time, or something. But so I'll just let it be there for right now.
Okay, and I wasn't jumping up, by the way. So I want to just leave you with, I want to just ask you one parting question. If for people who have listened to this and it strikes a chord, it strikes something that is of real interest to them, what's the next step for someone who's listening to this, and what would you recommend they do?
Well, first of all, please make comments below in the blog where it is that you are listening. And secondly, contact me and let me know what you're looking for, because most likely I have a program, a plan, a something that will help you take your next step. I will mention that this kind of conversation touches some people beyond where it is that they're aware. So it may just kind of haunt you, so to speak. It'll kind of keep coming up in your head. And that's an indication that you are really desiring to know more and to take the next step. And when that's the case, you can email me at esateys@esateys.com or connect with through the website, esateys.com, which, by the way, please go to the website now that we have our 3 different categories up. And if you would be kind enough and do me a favor and just click on one of those 3 boxes. I want the material, I want the spiritual, I want it all, because I'm doing like a little survey to see where people are at. I'm very curious. You don't have to sign up for a program or do anything. It doesn't take you to a sign-up sheet. It just takes you to more information. But if you would be willing to do that, it would be really supportive for us to know where the interest of the people that are listening are really, where they're really being drawn to.
And I would just also recommend keep listening to these podcasts, because even though it's Relationships Done Different, the title is Relationships Done Different, our topics go all over the place because they're all about relationships.
That's very, very true. Yes, and share this with people. I've said it before, but it's really true. Imagine if more people were open-minded as you are. I have so many things that I want to share with you at such an expanded level that it's like, oh my God, I can barely stand it, because there's so much that I want to give you an option to consider. And some of these things, as I said earlier, you may know, and perhaps you don't know yet. And it can go as deep as you are ready and willing to go, or stay as at an entry level, wherever it is that you are. There's no right or wrong. It's about being true to yourself.
Oh, and I had one other thought. If this is something of interest to you, why not create either a meetup or the equivalent of a meetup? And the subject could be just listening to these podcasts. They're usually 30 to 40 minutes long. And then have a discussion and a conversation about it, to really get to create the community that'll create that higher level of vibration, which will ultimately be so very powerful for you.
That's a great idea. That is really a great idea, because Meetup, just go to meetup.com. It's free to create a group.
And in all cities, anywhere.
Yeah, and it's all over probably the world, but certainly I know it's all over the U.S. And some can even be done online. I've thought of doing one online. And that's something that if you did one online, then I could come and I could speak to your group periodically. So think about that, or if you want to know more about it, or you want to discuss it or ask questions, then let us know, and we'll be happy to support you in doing that. Because what you're doing when you do that is you're taking charge of creating your reality the way that you would like it. You're taking charge of creating a new you. You're taking charge of expanding yourself beyond where it is that you currently are. And you are demonstrating a fearless movement towards really experiencing a multidimensional happiness, a real connection to whom it is that you truly are. And from there, it just keeps getting better and better and better.
Okay. Well, we hope you enjoyed this. This was really awesome for us. Oh, I forgot. Esateys is going to talk about our question of the day.
Okay, so here's a question. What would it take for me to have an expanded mind? What would it take for me to have an expanded mind? If you ask yourself that many times throughout the day, what'll happen is you'll probably hear more things like this, or you'll become really intrigued about, gosh, what's on the other side of that mountain? What's at the end of that road? What's behind that door? And if you allow the curiosity and the excitement and the innocence guide you, you'll find that there's so much more available. No matter how elevated, no matter how awake, no matter whom it is that you are, there is always something beyond that.
I got the goose pimples when you said that. It really just was very powerful. Okay, we will see you next week. Next week we are going to be doing the show that we were supposed to do this week, and the topic will be, is it better to be right or happy?
And I can't be sure whether any of the shows from now on will be the same or not.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll just leave you with this parting thought of living with the creator of constantly changing university and never really knowing what's going to happen first breath in the morning.
It's fun.
Send me love and vibration.
Send him help. 911.
A
Okay,
little
you guys.
lithium, a little Valium, whatever.
Do they even make Valium anymore?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
they do. Anyway, so feel a hug, you guys, and know that you are loved beyond measure. Remember, take me beyond where it is that my mind knows to go so that you can experience more than you ever dreamed possible.
Okay, we'll see you next week. Have a great week.
Bye
Take
for
care.
now.